My name is Brenda Mitchell Powell. I am now a full-time resident of Alexandria as of 2010. Um, we lived here part-time for a year and a half prior to that time. Um, my home is in Connecticut, and a large part of me remains in Connecticut. But I found a home here in Alexandria and have become involved with the community, the Historical Society, for example, the Community Remembrance Project. Uh, and I was focused on conducting research on the Alexandria Library sit-in, which took place in 1939. And it was an attempt to desegregate the library. A library had opened in 1937 here in Alexandria, but was strictly, very strictly segregated. And Samuel Wilbert Tucker, the architect of the sit-in, recognized the value of education and wanted everyone to have the kind of education that he'd acquired at the Library of Congress. So that became both my dissertation topic and was later transitioned to a book. And what I'd like people to know is that Alexandria is home to an extremely important and significant piece of library history and American civil rights history that I think deserves a focus as a national incident rather than merely a local event. The sit-in, unfortunately, well, at the time of the sit-in, it was widely publicized, both in the Black and the white media. But 2 days after the sit-in occurred, the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact was signed, the non-aggression pact between Germany and the Soviet Union. And the country immediately thereafter, at least for the white press, was distracted by what they anticipated would be the big story. And so the library sit-in event took a back seat to the news coverage of the impending World War II. And it continued to be covered in the Black press, but was not heard of again in the white press until the following year, 1940, when a ruling was made on a mandamus writ for a case Samuel Wilbert Tucker had brought to the city's attention about an attempt by an earlier Black gentleman, a retired Army sergeant, to desegregate the library. He requested a library card and was refused. And Samuel Wilbert Tucker initiated a writ of mandamus on his behalf to demand, essentially require, the librarian and the city government to provide him with a library card. And that did not go through, but the city compromised and accommodated its Black citizens by building a Jim Crow Black library not too far from the site of the main library, the white library. And the white library was not it was actually integrated, not desegregated. There's a difference in those two words, and a lot of people don't know that. But it was integrated in 1959, spurred by desegregation efforts in the school system. But it was only desegregated for Black adults and teenagers over the age of 16. Children were still barred from the White Library. They were not admitted until 1962, when the school system more fully desegregated. The desegregation of the library became an opportunity for all Alexandrians, Black and white, to use the only public library that was available in the city of Alexandria. Many middle class and upper class Blacks who lived in Alexandria continued to go to the libraries in the District of Columbia, preferring them for the quality and quantity of materials in their collections. But it did provide an opportunity for school children, teenagers, and working class Black Alexandrians to have a library in their own community, and for which all along they had been paying taxes to subsidize. Just that, I think it's important for people to realize that the civil rights struggle did not begin and end in the 1950s and 60s. This was an event from 1939, and it too was not the first sit-in. It was the first sit-in to desegregate a public library system, but demonstrations for Black access to, both to education and to amenities were conducted not directly against the case of segregation, but for fairer allocations of service provisions. And that marks a distinction, because the sit-in was, in fact, a direct challenge to the insistent on segregation in the city of Alexandria's library system.